Welcome back. We are moments away from our Game 2 draft as Kinguin down 1-0, fighting for their tournament lives against FlyToMoon, the CIS stack that has impressed in Game 1. 3 out of silence, last 4 Chronospheres were solo onto the Visage of Nisha or the Lifestealer of Exotic Deer, as the core matchup goes strongly in favor of the CIS squad. Bringing in our panel once again. Let's talk about Kinguin, because they have looked a little bit shaky at this event. We talked in the first couple of games about their draft. I'm not sure it was draft this time. This was to me more about the execution.
Yeah, their supports look very lost in the early game. The laning stage should go better for them, I feel, there. They've got very strong laners, Sand Rubik. They've have a safe lane dual lane as well that's pretty strong, so...
You bring up the supports, though. Maybe that does come back somewhat to one of our comments early on in the draft, was that Rubik Disruptor combo maybe being a little bit passive in the laning phase?
Yeah, a bit passive, and then once you don't get anything done, they also very squishy, so they kind of get ran at and just dived, which is a problem. So it wasn't maybe the ideal support duo.
Yeah. To me, the big thing is I felt like it was very much an all-in type of play, right? Yeah. And I think that we were mentioning upstairs that like it felt at one point as if they were sort of arguing about like one person wanted to go in for the Roche, the other person wanted to go and take the fight first. Yeah. It feels like there's this sort of like anxiety to get something done with this type of a draft, and then it means that everything comes around a little bit slower. Somebody, I remember who it was, mentioned an SF pick maybe as like another way to sort of get yourself an out, a late game opportunity.
Yeah, you need everyone on the same page. I think that Roche was a perfect example of that, where the Visage is the hero that always wants to go for Roche and always knows that his hero is strong and can kill Roche, but then the supports maybe don't understand like quite how easily the Visage can kill Roche, or they see an opening to get heroes, and it's the Visage that needs to understand these kills are more important than Roche, which I think was actually the case. Sand King Blink stuns someone in Visages, it's still in the Roche pit rather than helping finish off that kill.
Yeah, very much agreed. And I think when you're a team, as we were talking in the open about Kinguin maybe being on a downward trajectory here, I think when you're a team that's having those kinds of issues, you go back to basics and you go back to your iconic playstyle, which is that 4 protect 1 with Nisha on the harder farming carry. It's very unusual that you would see them put Nisha on an early game focused hero like the Visage.
Maybe again wanting to like respond to the patch or something. I don't know. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you could potentially say there, and I think that it's kind of like I like the idea of having drafts that have outs for being able to play into the later game, and it really felt like this one didn't have that. But maybe you executed and it looks amazing. Maybe a couple things changed and ends up looking different. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the checklist was all there. It's easy to point to the Visage because the Lifestealer got his Radiance at a reasonable time. The Sand King Blink Dagger was online at 13 minutes, and you know, you saw the early triple kill there on Patos. He was doing his job, and it does come down to the Visage missing his timing window and maybe the early passivity of the supports.
I think the good comparison to make with in terms of the draft, if that's EG's playing Kinguin's draft, game is won in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I would say that's like an 80% favored EG draft if they draft that draft against like a team of equal skill to them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a Kinguin comfort draft. They have played the Visage going way back, but the draft was, to me, not at all the problem. The execution was the huge problem.
Yeah, and I feel like when you draft that kind of lineup and put yourself on a timer, those early game situations where you may be on different pages, those really get magnified, right? They kind of resound through the rest of the game. So, going into Game 2, big adjustments. What do you want to see Kinguin do differently? Just play better Dota?
Yeah, I think we're maybe past the point of just talking about drafting. We could talk about Kinguin just making better moves in the early game, securing their lanes more. Supports need to have a much clearer purpose about what they want to do, what they want to achieve in that first 5 to 10 minutes of the game. Which lanes are they winning? Which lanes are they ganking? When are they grouping up to smoke? They just need to have a lot more clear direction.
Maybe also you like have those initial movements out across the map, like go for a smoke play or something, stay together, because that pickoff, we talked about it, that kind of set the tone for the mid lane the rest of the way. If OD gets that, maybe doesn't get that first blood, maybe the rest of the draft looks better as well. So possibly like playing a little bit more safe when you get those initial wards out there. Maybe go for a smoke gank of your own, try and run into the enemy's jungle and steal theirs away. That could be another thing to do.
I like that, because it also gives you info as to what the lanes are, which is you find out what the lanes are, then you can make sure you have that clear purpose in the early game stage, because you can set up the lanes the way you want them.
It also reminds me, we go back to a question with the patch. With all of these patches sort of sucking resources off the map, the neutral spawn getting moved back, the mid creep, extra mid creep getting removed, now the tower gold bounty is being reduced. That first blood bounty is still big. And are we back to this situation? You remember back 2 years ago when PPD started complaining that it felt like these first bloods were game determining, right? We've seen a couple of games in this tournament where the first blood has been so huge in the lane matchup.
Then the part that I don't like about it is that it's like whoever gets the last hit is the hero. Like if for whatever reason, like but sometimes it's sheer luck which hero gets it. You know, I mean, often you can control who last hits it, but sometimes it's like everyone needs to right click to make sure you get the kill, and whether it's the mid or the 5 position who gets it, that changes the game, at least the first 5 minutes.
The other thing, though, is maybe if you have a draft where, like, if you get a first blood, you lose the game, then that's not a draft you should be making also.
Yeah, sure. Of course. I mean, it's not. It's more just like in a mid 1v1 matchup, if one hero has 300 gold over the other at the start, that extra null talisman or whatever item it is just is game changing.
Maybe they could have responded too. I don't know if you can rotate a hero though. That's the thing.
But that's already messed you up. If you have to then suddenly dual lane mid because they got a first blood, like that messes up your other lane. So it's this. Dota's a game where the small things make a very big difference, or they add up very quickly. So. I think obviously first blood in the mid, maybe the solution is just avoid it happening before the horn. If it happens a minute in or 2 minutes in with a support gank the mid lane, that's something totally different. But it happens before the creeps even spawn. Tough times.
Yeah, and it also plays into the fact that, you know, I think it started around Katowice where the meta has shifted to so much focus on the 2 side lanes with all the aggro dual lanes, all the support rotations going in that direction. You are seeing a lot more 1v1 mid, which for a time in the game was very, very rare.
I think it'd be a cool change to just see the first blood, the bonus goal just split between all 5 people.
Yeah,
that way you take away that RNG of who actually gets the last hit. It also just means the team as a whole is rewarded for getting a first blood, much like the level 1 bounty runes, that minute 0. I think that'd be a nice little tweak, but
support. I would love that. That would be awesome.
Yes.
At least for the heroes in the AOE, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be uniform, but at least if you get your first blood off of 4v1 in the enemy jungle, seems reasonable to split that bounty, that bonus gold up somehow.
Maybe just remove first blood bonus gold. Who knows?
Well, I mean, they've removed so much of the other gold in the game.
Yeah, it's very weird mechanic in terms of, I mean, obviously it seems like a legacy thing more than something that adds to
you should keep the like overlay for it though, so it like, doesn't give you
the first blood. Yeah, the psychological advantage. Yes, we got first blood. Oh wait, we're gonna go
we're all Pavlovian in Dota, you know.
Exactly. Salivating for kills.
All right, our game 2 draft is underway. Opening ban is the Razor by FlyToMoon. Yeah, a little unusual.
So they have first pick this time, which is actually they had it last time as well. So maybe they're thinking about, like, I don't know what.
You want to first pick Tiny. That's the hero that everyone wants to first pick, but is probably getting banned, unless something crazy gets left in the pool.
Do you feel like there really is that something crazy? Like who's the OP hero right now?
Dark Willow.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen in this tournament, for sure.
I think Kinguin left Tiny and Dark Willow with the clear purpose of getting one of those 2 heroes.
It's an Iceberg classic, that Tiny. He really does love it.
Yeah, they'll take it away.
Usually that means that they're going to be taking something like an Abaddon or another save out of the off lane, so we'll see if they take that next.
Okay, ADB. They're going back to something easier to execute, which I think is key, especially when you're not playing like good team cohesive Dota. Just get something like a Death Prophet, force objectives, punish mistakes better.
Yeah, I think you said the magic words there, an ease of execution, where with the Death Prophet, yes, you're playing around the Exorcism cooldown, but if you can get a kill when you activate that ability, it's a guaranteed objective, and it makes it that much easier to play around the CD.
I think it's one of those heroes that, like, if you're, you know, like a new person or someone out there just playing Battle Cups or whatever and just want to get better in terms of playing better as a team strategically, picking Death Prophet's a perfect way to do that. It just gives you a clear strategic purpose throughout the entire game.
As a DP spammer, I agree.
Yeah, it works in pubs too. You know, you tell your team, I got ulti, come, we're pushing this lane, and they'll come and join you. They understand what this hero can do and how fast it can break towers and the advantage you get from that.
I mean, the downside to it is that it does mean that they're going to have to play around that cooldown. And Tiny, a hero that doesn't really need that many cooldowns to play around, along with the Tusk, they could maybe think about. I think they take the Visage themselves later on, or I guess another little like low cooldown hero could be strong
I've really
too.
seen them play that, and I think given that Iceberg's playing Tiny, that means Silence looking for a hero, which is probably not Visage.
They could actually think about the Brood again. It's the second phase. I don't know if they have
for FlyToMoon.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you go back to basics and pick Silent as Gyro. I really do.
Yeah, that sounds.
I mean,
pretty
that's
solid.
he is still the career winningest gyro player. He's 107 wins on the hero. Nobody else above 70.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah,
he
are
loves
you guys
gyro.
surprised that they left Tusk in the pool?
No.
I
There's
think-
only so many things you can ban.
Yeah.
Surprised they banned Rubik, perhaps.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
That's
what
to
they had
me
in
the
mind with-
surprising ban because they're the team that usually picks it.
Yeah. FlyToMoon, until they lost with it on day one, did have that 100% Rubik win rate.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
But
Good point.
I don't think it's like, oh, we got to ban this.
I think that was always going to be the question. Is like, I think it was very telling that FlyToMoon were willing to give it away the first time last time, and I think Tusk is maybe the one that you could have. I might have wanted to ban that more because the double save is pretty freaking strong, and if they pick another one here that does it, they're actually going to ban a Dark Willow.
Could be a 5.
I really like the gyrocopter call out. Although maybe they're going to take it themselves.
Yeah. Okay. That would work for Kinguin. I think that the concern though is again, are you going to have to lock down that Katsor Elder Titan now that you've banned Rubik yourself?
I think picking Gyro locks in your 2 cores too early on in the draft. You'd rather leave it a little bit flexible. Death Prophet, yes. 9 times out of 10, the hero's going mid, but just having the possibility to put it safe lane and pick some kind of X factor mid is a really nice spot to be in sometimes.
Worth noting that Kinguin run the Sand King at least since February 1st, 7.0. They've run the Sand King exclusively as a 3.
Okay.
Patos 7 and 8 on the hero.
He did a ton last game.
He did. He really did.
Yeah.
That Blink Dagger, they gave him the farm early on. The Blink Dagger was early, really created a lot of space.
I think that's, yeah, as far as the last positive takeaways, that is something where I imagine he's saying, yeah, feel good about the Sand King. If you're the captain there, you think the Sand King did what he needed to do. He didn't let the team down last game, so you feel confident picking it.
And you know, if you are going to be predictable and go back to the Elder Titan for Katsor, I do like the Sand King Elder Titan dual lane quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really, really strong.
Well, there you go. Disruptor.
Okay. Yeah, that's the
Fable
safe
5.
pick.
Very good with Tusk.
Doesn't reveal anything either. And now that's their longest cooldown right now is Static Storm.
Yeah, and if they jump Death Prophet, the Static Storm can stop the Spirit Siphons coming out,
Right.
which is always handy. You don't have the Ice Blast to stop the healing, but perhaps Silence will do enough.
Okay, and we're going
Bread and
to
butter.
go back
It's
to
just
the
like-
exotic Deer Lone Druid. I like that a lot.
Yeah. It's the most comfort of comfort Kinguin drafts, and when things aren't going well, sometimes you just have to go back to it. I mean, the positive is you're in comfort picks, the negative is you have to do this because you're losing all your games and haven't been playing well as a team, so we'll see if it works.
I like this draft a lot from Kinguin.
I do.
If they don't win with this type of a draft, I'd be very concerned about their appearances.
Yes, this
anything
is-
going forward.
I mean, this is their bread and butter. This kind of a lineup is absolutely.
Same time, you could say the same thing for FlyToMoon though.
Yeah.
They've got the Iceberg Tiny, they've got the strong kind of support duo they like, Iceberg playing.
Sioma the Slayer on Disruptor.
Yeah,
Oh,
Sioma
man.
Disruptor.
Yeah, like the iconic.
No Fear Tusk, probably one of his top 2, top 3 heroes as well. I really like
that's-
his Tusk.
Sioma's Vega, but yeah, that's. I like
Oh yeah,
the
what am
idea.
I talking about?
No, no,
I'm
but
crazy.
Always wanna fly.
Come on, it's a CIS player on Disruptor. Of course you take Sioma.
CIS 5, Disruptor is the CIS 5 position.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, expressing our concerns about the Chronosphere cooldown in the last game, these teams like to play this skirmish-oriented style, and Disruptor, every single disengage, he's going to have the chance to get you the extra kill.
Well, and that's what you have to do when you have Death Prophet is you take this fight, you push a tower, force an objective with the extra, as it's wearing off, you're like, okay, time to back off, now it's wearing off. Well, Disruptor is actually great against Death Prophet lineups because of the glimpse that punishes the retreat. You have to really make sure you back off as a team and don't get caught, don't give vision to the opposing team in doing so. SF.
Oh,
There we go.
there's
Take
the
it.
classic, and
Burst
here's the
damage.
question. Is this going to still be an Iceberg mid tiny?
No, he'll play the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Because I think Nisha is going to play the SF.
I mean,
Nisha's
no,
Kinguin.
Iceberg
Oh,
playing
Kinguin,
SF.
oops,
Yeah,
sorry.
so it's not Iceberg Tiny.
Senior moment.
No, I think it's definitely not an Iceberg Tiny.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now
all
that
right.
they've got SF, there's silence on SF player,
Good man.
but he is a Tiny player. Theoretically, they could do Tiny offlane as well.
Right idea, wrong name of player. All right. It's early in the morning, guys.
Well, and all three of us were on the last night, the last series.
This is the sleepy panel.
Hell with it. I'll get up for doing it, guys.
Absolutely. Kinguin, I think that right now you got to think about like a strong initiating hero. Beastmaster to me feels like it could be still pretty freaking strong from FlyToMoon if they want to do something like that.
I think you're also going to be worried about this mid lane. SF with Tusk, you can Ice Shards, block the ramp. Any gank from a Tusk can really set up and enable the Shadow Fiend to do well.
Gyrocopter?
Oh, yeah.
Expecting
Okay.
a tiny offlane, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're very worried about the tiny Tusk dueling with Gyro on the safe lane.
Having the Ice Shards to secure the lane means Tiny can actually play in the offlane a lot better than other circumstances. I'm kind of 50-50 on Tiny being safe lane, off lane here.
Well, that's where I feel like the removal of the one base regen makes the biggest difference for Tiny, is in that offlane role. It felt like, everywhere else on the map, not too big a discrepancy, but that offlane is no longer kind of a free situation for Tiny.
Yep. What will they want?
They've been at the brew.
I think I could Underlord. I like Underlord a lot against Lone Druid. They've got the tempo control with Tiny, so I think you can have that kind of more farming offlaner.
I'd be down for any of the strong initiators, like Batrider or Beastmaster.
I haven't seen much non-Grata Underlord.
Yeah.
He's a clock player, too. You get that classic clock SF combo.
Clock SF, clock against those heroes. I mean,
I
good
do
against AA.
I like the Beastmaster a lot, though. That would be my pick here.
Yeah. What are they going to get? Lifestealer,
Wow.
so they will do Tiny offlane.
Okay.
Lifestealer against this draft is looking to just blow up someone like the Death Prophet with a Tiny Infest.
Yeah, I think that may be a little on the greedy side, though.
Yeah, it does look that way.
You're leaning a lot on your two supports to get things done in team fights.
Lifestealer at least a strong laner who doesn't need a lot of support in lane, but there is obviously, like you say, there's not maybe enough farm to go around for these three cores. Tiny's going to have to play very selflessly with just getting a Blink Dagger, 4-staff, and being done with it, not expecting any greedy Shadow Blade, BKB, Daedalus type Tinys this game.
Also got to be said, though, FlyToMoon clearly have done their homework preparing for Kinguin, and they've not banned out the Elder Titan. And Lifestealer really good against the ET. So maybe kind of anticipating that last kick from
they actually banned the Brew, so maybe at the same time maybe they haven't, because they're expecting Sanking as a 4, and you're saying they only run it as a 3.
Yeah, well, who knows?
I mean, they could
you
switch
have
it
to
up.
be able, you have to be able to make these adjustments. That's the thing. And these guys play a lot of pubs outside, so.
Yeah, I feel like you want to be able to protect the mid lane with your last pick here if it's a 4. I'm guessing that's going to enable Death Prophet to do better against SF with the Tusk Rim. Earth Spirit, perhaps?
Yeah, Earth Spirit I think would be really good.
I think that's the pick to me.
If they want to switch it up like absolutely crazy, they could like run a Razor or something and try and run at people. It's going to be Doom instead.
Still get the Sankey into the 4.
Wow.
Not a terrible choice. So it doesn't really protect amazingly well, but it does threaten to gank SF much like the Tusk threatens to gank DP.
I guess it's just that you look at the FlyToMoon lineup, and it's not really a situation where there's one hero you doom and the fight's an auto win, right? I mean, I guess that's less relevant considering Doom's your 4, not your 3. But
I think they are playing the Doom as a 3. Or did they pick it up?
It's Kotzor's playing the Doom. Yeah, I saw it just at the end there.
Right.
So unless they swap, it's going to be Doom as 4.
Doom as a 4, just not sure what he's looking to do. I guess he just runs off lane and throws those Infernal Blades and harasses, but Lifesteal's not the hero to worry about this game.
Yeah.
He's not the hero who's going to run over you.
I know. Let's lay it on the line, guys. Predictions.
I don't really like FlyToMoon's draft that much. I think Kinguin will take it. I wasn't fully convinced by the Doom, but I really didn't like the Lifestealer because I think Tiny offlane feels a little weird to me right now against LD.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying a lot about the draft there, but I think for me the tipping factor is Kinguin just haven't looked that good. So I think I'm going to go with FlyToMoon. I think Kinguin's shown a lot of inability to execute their drafts, and I'm going to go FlyToMoon in game 2.
Yeah, I'm really split myself. I like the draft from Kinguin a little better, but they've just not looked convincing at all. So I think I'm gonna stick with Gods on this one. Lyrical, you were right in game 1, so we'll see. Maybe they should be happy about that. With that said, though, game 2, Kinguin fighting for their tournament lives, need a win to stay alive here at Starladder. Let's send it out to our casters one more time here, OD Pixel and Tsunami.
Thank you, Nahaz. Yes, game 2 of Kinguin versus FlyToMoon. We've just seen the 2 drafts come in. The panel a little bit split on this one. What do we reckon, Tsunami, looking at what we've got coming out of this one?
I'm leaning towards Gods, not so much because Kinguin didn't look that great, but because, again, I want Iceberg to have redemption. He got MVP in the last game. Again, I think the computer was intimidated, but Shadow Fiend is probably my favorite hero to see him on. And we've already seen that Iceberg wins basically off of mechanics, not off of any sort of matchup situation. So it was the Visage versus the OD in game 1. Gods mentioned that should not be that heavily favored towards the OD. And here, I think Death Prophet Shadow Fiend is also relatively break-even, but a highly mechanically skilled Shadow Fiend will overtake the Death Prophet.
Well, let's see if FlyToMoon are able to find some early aggression as they come out with this smoke. They'll find a bear. Not really the one they want to go for here. We'll get a ward down. Exotic Deer to go for the pings. The bear did get sort of blocked up there, so I wonder if Exotic Deer was keeping his eyes on that and does realize that there's likely to be a movement down here, and I think he does.
I mean, he's just going to send the bear for the bounty run regardless. I don't think he's going to commit his hero.
Sure, yeah.
But on the north side, Kinguin are also planning a little something. And I am curious to see how this Cat Sword Doom is going to work out. I'm typically not a big fan of 4-position Doom. I think the recent resurgence of maxing out Infernal Blade and just constantly slicing up the enemy carry is the way to go, but we'll see.
I can see Exotic Deer actually come forward himself to try for the bounty room, but No Fear's able to grab it. Pops down the shards, and he'll find the 1, but indeed the 2 top ones going the way of Kinguin. Looks like, of course, always want to fly on the way back over to his map. We'll find that second one for FlyToMoon as well. So just the 2-for-2 trade on bounty runes. And we'll see how the lanes do settle out. And it looks, for the most part, it is going to be this aggressive composition from FlyToMoon, looking to try and put some pressure onto Exotic Deer's Lone Druid. I mean, how well is this going to work out? Do you feel that Exotic Deer is going to be okay down here?
Sending Lifestealer is the best decision. Lifestealer is, it's kind of like, there are points at which Lifestealer is great against Lone Druid, and there are points at which Lifestealer is not great against Lone Druid. In the laning phase, it's amazing, because Feast gets so much damage as Nisha gets blocked out in the mid lane, but should be just fine. As Iceberg is about to hit level 2, actually, for raises, but it's too late. So, Feast, you lifesteal so much off the bear, you deal so much damage to the bear because it's just a big HP target. And so, in that sense, it's great. As Silent is taking some damage, and Katsura has moved down here with the Infernal Blade.
Yeah, a lot of harassment down onto Silent, but he will be able to keep himself alive. Does have a fair few tangos ready. No salve at the moment on the Lifestealer, so we'll have to play it pretty carefully whilst those 2 supports of Kinguin are down here. At least Ash and Katsura backing up Exotic Deer. Making it very hard for Silent to find the farm for now. He has got No Fear backing him up as well. I believe No Fear does bring in the salve to top Silent back up and get him into a bit of a better shape so we can get back to farming on this bottom lane.
Yeah, one of the best movements with Lone Druid is to be very, very aggressive with your level 1 bear, because that was basically a free summon. You summoned it in the base, the cooldown will be up by the time the game actually begins, so you can spend that initial bear being very, very aggressive, get it down to low HP and just resummon it. So they do that, and they draw back the Tusk down to this mid-bot lane to salve up the Lifestealer, as you said. But I don't really think that Shadow Fiend's going to need the help. He's 9-2, 10-2 right now against a 6-1 Death Prophet. No Fear is going to pick up a haste and go back mid.
It's just the level 1, of course, on the Tusk. He may not find a kill. He may see if he tries for the couriers. He's going to see it come into lane. With that mid lane Observer ward, he's going to look to chase it down, and at 2 minutes and such, there's no save for this courier.
Can't run.
No Fear gets the courier, so making that mid lane matchup even more favorable for Iceberg's SF.
Yeah, everything is going in his favor right now, and this is a great situation to be as a Tusk, where basically every single lane is a viable gank target. You can go to the bot lane, even if you don't kill off the Lone Druid, you can still kill off his bear, which is nearly as valuable as a kill oftentimes. And in the top lane, it's maybe a little bit more difficult to go on the Sand King, but it's still possible. And slowing down Patos is invaluable as now. Another movement on Silent.
Having to back right up. Still, as we're seeing, though, Exotic Deer, the one suffering in CS on that bottom lane. So,
Snowball on the mid lane.
Silent,
Raise.
they've got him. No Fear pots the Fairy Fire. He's trying to get himself away from the tower. And he's all that extra bit of movement speed there. Elisash for the Vortex. Is it going to be enough to continue
gonna
the
fog
chase?
himself?
Oh, he's got the right click just in time. So Elisash will at least be able to find a return kill. But again, it's this mid lane getting a bit more tough. But Kinguin, as they lose their Death Prophet.
Yes, Lifestealer is now moving up to the top lane. He is tired of this Doom constantly hassling him, which surprisingly this Katsor 4-position Doom is being fairly effective, but now they've sent Notgrata to the bot lane.
Snowball in. Katsor's in trouble. Straight away, they'll burst him down. The rotations being countered there by FlyToMoon.
Great movement. A lot of teams are not willing to send out, or like, I guess, call an audible on the laning phase, so the Lifestealer is not really getting as much done in this bot lane as we thought. The Feast was working out, I guess, at level 1, but then once Doom comes down, Ancient Apparition's down here, there's no point to leave the Lifestealer in such an unfavorable matchup. So he sent Tiny up here. He can recover. He's already managed to hit level 5 on this Tiny in that solo lane against the Sand King. So share the love with the Lifestealer now.
And we'll see what Panos can get done again. He is having this sort of early farm that we saw him do a lot with in the mid game of game 1. Wasn't quite enough to pull him through to a victory. Bottom lane, avalanche onto the two of them. No Fear is going to get focused instead. He's trying to bring down Elisash. He has the snowball. Katsor pots the Fairy Fire turns with the Satellite Blast and will be able to find the kill onto No Fear. So we're getting this tri-lane of Kinguin that they have now formed, getting themselves some more positive action for Exotic Deer's Lone Druid to be involved in.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tusk stuck around so long. It almost looked like he was giving up his life to save the Tiny, but the Tiny was
very
out.
Low.
He was free. I guess maybe they were underestimating this Katsor Unholy Aura, which he has taken that red Satyr as Patos does get kinetic fielded.
And they did try and use the Epicenter to go on Silent and always want to fly, but of course with the Rage, Silent was more than fine. And mid lane, advantage of course still remains there for Iceberg, continuing to dominate this Death Prophet, 31 for 10 against the 22 for 1.
Jeez, Iceberg is fantastic. Oh, in the CIS team, I know Vegas Squadron, their mid laner is scared of Iceberg, so they will often dodge it. They'll be like, I just make our carry player play Razor and he go mid, because I do not want to have to play against this dude. Snowball.
For Katsor. Katsor does have the backup of Elisash. Can Elisash do enough to keep Katsor safe? Katsor's got the Scorched Earth regen, but with the toss, can Nongrata do it? One more punch, he's got it. FlyToMoon find the kill. They'll look towards Elisash. Exotic Deer coming over, trying to help out the A. He's got the Savage Roar. Nongrata still trying to chase down this AA kill. He'll toss back the bear. Snowball in from No Fear across to Elisash. They really want this AA, but I don't think they're going to get it. Avalanche comes up 3. Oh, they are! Nongrata from across the trees with the Avalanche and the toss of the tree. TP out as well. Makes it out of there in time. No Fear. Ooh. He's running. He will indeed get out of there.
Welcome to 7.13 Tiny. I guess this is what you need to get used to.
Extra bit of strength from punching.
Yeah,
having that's sort of that overall rotation, that movement of the lanes that we saw earlier, continuing to work out for FlyToMoon. Having Nongrata in this position where he can really get stuck in and get away with getting these early kills.
And even if they do die, it's really not that big of a liability because in the meanwhile, Iceberg is like, this is the freest I've ever seen a Shadow Fiend be treated, and that's the way that CIS teams like to play it. They want to give their mid lane as minimal help as possible.
I mean, and they haven't needed to because there just hasn't been any pressure from Kinguin in the middle lane.
Yeah.
They have not looked to try and shut
now
down Iceberg in the early stages at all.
Raise 1, raise 2.
They've got him. FlyToMoon just doing a perfect job of handling this middle lane.
Epicenter.
Oh, it's a replay of a replay inside of a replay.
Epicenter was coming out in the top lane. Again, he keeps trying to go on to Silent, but Silent has Rage, as you said. It's not really worthwhile. Hasn't hit level 6 yet, so ideally you're able to Burrow Strike in on him and he can't infest anyone as now Thunderstrike comes out. Glimpse is not in range, though.
We'll see No Fear setting up from the side, looking towards Exotic Deer. Shards down, Nongrata trying to close in. Do they have enough damage to bring down this Lone Druid? The Cleave certainly helping out, and they've got him. They've got one. Can they find Katsor as well? They're turning and punching. Katsor will be able to bring down the Tusk, but overall, again, it's Nongrata cleaning up, getting involved in both of these kills. This Tiny having quite an impact.
I think this Tiny's getting more farm against this tri-lane than he was against the Sand King solo. And this Lone Druid is getting absolutely nothing. The Death Prophet is getting nothing done. I'm very curious to see what Iceberg will go, because I think this is as much of a Blink Yule's game as you could get for Shadow Fiend. This high head start, these targets that are very vulnerable to that sort of quick initiation because they don't have quick cast animation stuff. Like a Savage Roar could be a problem, but if you time it well enough, it shouldn't be.
Well, Ghost will come out for Anisha as he looks to put pressure onto the mid. TP will be cancelled by Iceberg as he remains down bottom. There's that wraparound from the smoke gank of Kinguin as well, focusing towards the mid lane.
They may walk into it though.
They might indeed still catch Iceberg as Iceberg, he's heading up to the high ground. There's the Burrow Strike, they're straight in on top of this SF, looking to burst him down, and they should find this. He'll put the one charge, is not enough to keep him alive as Kinguin get that big kill that they were after. They are able to take down Iceberg.
Unfortunately, that does burn some time off the Exorcism, so Nisha's not going to be able to finish off claiming that tier 1, but getting the kill on Shadow Fiend is still pretty worthwhile.
And all in all, very, very close really at the moment. Just a 1k advantage for FlyToMoon, 7 for 5. But of course, a Kinguin catching back up and keeping that gap very small between the two of them. Silence build on the lifesteal of this game will indeed be the phase to Radiance, as he does continue to get a lot of space up on this top lane. As we've only seen a few times, really Patos try and make a bit of a go on him. But he's a lifestealer and Patos is a Sand King, so not really too much Patos can do to harass him on his own.
Yeah, FlyToMoon have a lot of flexibility. They have amazing early game, and they can absolutely go late with this Tiny getting such a good start. You've got Tiny to become a core, Shadow Fiend to become a core, and Lifestealer to become a core, whereas this 4-position Doom isn't going to transition as well as typical Dooms do, so I don't really consider him to be as big of a threat of a core. It's mainly going to be on Death Prophet and Lone Druid's shoulders to carry Kinguin into the late game. On the bright side, the push is amazing. You've got Lone Druid, Bear, you've got Exorcism. You can just crunch through towers with very, very little time committed, but you need to get on the enemy side of the river first.
Let's see what they can get it as Cancel just trying to get these pools, keep control of this bottom lane, make it a bit safer for Exotic Deer to continue to farm.
Yeah, he's got the Midas completed on the Lone Druid, so that's a good place to start. And he's got the Radiance queued up afterwards, which is the go-to. Not the Dominator build that we've seen kind of take precedence.
Yeah, no, it certainly has seemed to be the more favorable build. As you say, Exotic Deer going for something a little more classic.
Silent spots out Patos, but no detection. He does have Epicenter up, and I know this dude loves Epicentering to the Lifestealer, but I think now you just need to worry about getting a Blink Dagger. And the idea is once Patos completes it, then get a pick with some sort of Blink Epi initiation, make sure that, Doom has hit level 6, so that's good also, and then turn it into 2 towers. I don't think getting 1 tower is going to be enough after a pick. You need to turn this Lone Druid and Exorcism into a lot of map control in a very little amount of time as Snowball in the bot lane.
They've found Exotic Deer, they're looking for the control, they've got him stuck in the Static Storm, they've got the catch and the kill. FlyToMoon rotating down, taking Exotic Deer off the map.
And Iceberg does have Yules queued up, as now they're going to Doom up the Lifestealer. He's all alone up here, but he's very fast.
He is pretty fast and he's pretty beefy. The Snowball's going to come across, as Nofa's going to do his best to make sure that the Lifestealer is going to be fine, and indeed he is. He can get himself back, and now they're trying for the turnaround. The 2-man Burrow Strike does come through though, as well as the Ghost out from Kinguin. Kinguin will find Non-Crowder, they'll find No Fear as well. They may not have found the Lifestealer, but they certainly do manage to find 2 other kills, and with the Ghosts out, should be able to put some pressure and threaten the tier 1 tower top.
Yeah, they've got time on this Exorcism, and it doesn't look like FlyToMoon are interested in defending. Iceberg doesn't really want to participate too much until he completes the Yules. And again, like if you only lose 1 objective, you don't lose any big cores. Like Tiny is still fairly important, but it wasn't the Lifestealer, and it wasn't the Shadow Fiend, and Doom and Exorcism were both spent, and Epicenter as well.
Exotic Deer, 1600 on his way to the Radiance. Him and Lifestealer pretty much even on the net worth, but obviously with the Lifestealer's build in terms of just the money for the Radiance.
Yeah, no stop off Midas or anything like that.
So should have it at the quicker time at this rate if the side of FlyToMoon are able to continue to keep the space safe for Silent.
And Disruptor's getting a lot of points too. What often stresses me out about CIS squads is their very dependent on their cores, and their supports often fall behind. But I said it in game 1, I'll say it again in game 2, Always Wanna Fly is a very greedy core. He's got boots completed, and he's got maxed out glimpse at 13 minutes in.
But a few big game item pickups here for both sides. Pados has his blink over on the side of FlyToMoon. There's a blink ready, I believe, for Non Grata, and also the Yules complete on Iceberg. Pados and Elisash on the hunt, trying to see if they can find a pick-off, as he has Epicenter to back up in 5 seconds, but the side of FlyToMoon are very much far away. You may see a courier back on the way over, and with the realization they're not going to find any heroes, they may settle for it, but they don't. No, they don't want to. They want to keep under the cover of the smoke. They're heading over to join Nisha and Katso mid, but already the jump's been made from FlyToMoon straight away, looking to burst down Nisha's Death Prophet. Can they quite do it? The Soul Siphon keeping Nisha alive. Nisha turns with the Crit Swarm. He's going to be able to live through this, and now Kinguin can turn. They take Non Grata, they take Always Wanna Fly, and they take No Fear as well. The perfect turnaround from Kinguin there comes into play as FlyToMoon, they go all in on trying to burst down Nisha's Death Prophet, but they didn't quite have the damage to do so. I believe the silence coming out just stopping some of those last few raises that Iceberg needed to get through, as Nisha keeps himself alive.
Katsor gets the Doom off on the Shadow Fiend. He's not able to Yules up. He's not able to Requiem. Very weird approach for the gank, though, because Lifestealer wasn't even with them, and they didn't seem interested in bringing the Lifestealer there. Lifestealer was too busy pushing the top tier 1, but going for a dive like that when you know Doom is up, where you don't know where Sand King is, but which Sand King wasn't really in position. He was invading the jungle with Ancient Apparition, but you still don't know where he is, and you don't know how close he is to his Blink Dagger, because I don't think it was revealed yet. But ends up getting a very successful turnaround. At least at the least, Silent wasn't involved, so he's continuing to make progress towards that Radiance.
This sort of fight's keeping the game very even as Kinguin already looking for more action potentially.
Elisash is in deep. Be very quiet.
Got the Arcane on Non Grata.
I mean, he can get a great flank Ice Blast.
They do go straight away in onto Iceberg. They are going to Savage Roar him back, but with the chase down, he's in a lot of trouble. He's going to self-fuels himself up. Snowball's going to be there to buy some time, but FlyToMoon, they've lost Iceberg. They're going to lose Non Grata as well. Again, Kinguin able to find these successful fights. The Burrow Strike not quite catching out No Fear. But they're getting these kills, these big ones as well, taking down the SF. But as you said, this is all during time where Kinguin are fighting as 5, and FlyToMoon, they are still not bringing Silent over for the fights, as they wanted him to wait until he has the Radiance, really, before he really gets kicked in. They're actually going to find the bear off the back of this, so a nice 300 gold for Silent on his road to the Radiance, which he pretty much has. A couple more creep waves and it will be there. So we'll see how things change when they do have the Radiance on the Lifestealer, but at the moment Kinguin doing an excellent job of fighting FlyToMoon without the Lifestealer in the neighborhood, and coming out on top each time.
Yeah, that is definitely going to change once the Radiance is completed, but for right now they are taking advantage of the windows. Unfortunately, they're not able to finish off that bottom tier 1 tower, but they do get the kill again on the Iceberg's Shadow Fiend and Non Grata's Tiny, so setting them further behind and putting more weight on Lifestealer to solo carry the game. Since Iceberg went for this kind of bursty build with the Yules and he is going to complete it off into the Blink, it's unreliable damage, whereas, you know, like Sange and Yasha, typical right-click Shadow Fiend, you can get away with being a little out of position here and there. But that's not flashy, and Iceberg's a flashy player.
Let's see what they can do with this. Silent has the Radiance. You can see the lead in. They've got the catch here with a quick goons back and Static Storm. Pados will be caught out.
Very worthwhile. He's the second highest net worth hero on the side of Radiant.
Yeah, the real big playmaker as well for Kinguin.
Yeah.
So anytime that he's off the map, it's a lot less scary for the side of FlyToMoon to come out and farm the waves.
And more gold for Silent, which means he's getting closer to the Solar Crest, and that'll mean that Roche is very easy for FlyToMoon to take. It's also easy for Kinguin, but they need to get map control first.
Trying for the Ice Blast there onto Silent. Silent, he does not care. Pops the Rage, finishes off the tier 1 tower. It's Still incredibly close in this game. Blink Dagger is there for Iceberg, so he has the Blink Yules combo. We'll see if he gets sort of the chance to make any sort of play with it. I feel like we do see a lot of the times when Shadow Fiends go for this Blink Yules, it can be seen as quite greedy, as if you aren't really able to sort of have the impact with it. It sort of just postpones the effectiveness of the hero overall. Sure, it's going to be great for the farming because you have that sort of mana regen and sustain from the Yule Scepter. But it's very hard to sort of get away with the flashy plays in sort of these high-level games.
Yeah, it's a feast or famine type build. Sometimes it just terrifies the enemy team, but this enemy team is equipped for it. The Death Prophet has got a Yules, which is a somewhat reliable way to dodge the combo, and Savage Roar does not have a cast animation as Invasion.
See if they can find anyone out of this already. Non-Grata blinking away, but the chase is there from Paddles. Closes the gap with the Burrow Strike. Silence down as well onto the Tiny as the Tiny is surrounded. Silent looking to try and turn things around, but they've lost Non-Grata. Look at the Static Storm down onto Paddles and Katso. Non-Grata buying back for this one as he knows this could be a great fight for them to take FlyToMoon. Non-Grata jumps in, gets the burst down onto the Doom. They've cleaned up too. Can they get anything more out of this? The Doom's still upon Silent and will now wear off. The Silent has been silenced by Nisha. It looks like Silent doesn't care. He's training him. He needs to care. Silent, the Siphon, the Ghost from Nisha just ripped through the Lifestealer. They'll take down Tiny as well. Triple kill for Nisha as a huge underestimation there from FlyToMoon as they go straight back in to the Ghost of the Death Prophet. And Nisha, he just deletes Silent and he deletes Non-Grata. That was a dieback from the Tiny.
Yeah, he has the medallion completed on the Lifestealer, but fighting a Death Prophet one-on-one in melee range is very dangerous because that means the ghosts don't take very much time to cycle back to Death Prophet. They can only do one attack and then they have to go back to Death Prophet, but when you're in melee range, they're just spinning around in circles. It's instant damage, so Lifestealer is like, okay, I'll take this fight for a little bit and then I'll rage to back off and we'll keep kiting. Oh god, where'd my HP go?
Getting absolutely shredded there by Nisha still. Iceberg on the road. The BKB was able to keep himself alive then. There is a DD rune top. We'll see if either side's able to utilize that, maybe even before the Roshan. They know that there's no exorcism.
Yeah, no Doom either, so fairly good opening. Although Sand King is showing himself in the bot lane, so maybe you can go for it.
We'll see what they decide upon FlyToMoon, as they will pop the DD rune straight away. Looks like Iceberg wants to at least try and finish off this tier 1 tower. Fortification comes out from Kinguin.
And Elisash ended up scouting the pit anyway.
So FlyToMoon will find this tier 1 mid, but at the same time Kinguin, they'll claim the tier 1 tower down bottom. They are going to look towards Roche. Iceberg's heading in there. See if Kinguin want to do anything about this. Kinguin just continuing to push down on the bottom lane. So and this sort of, it doesn't look like they intend to head over to the pit.
No.
I think they're going to get this one for free, but it is going to cost them the 2 towers at least down on the bottom lane.
They're expecting a defense, so all the initiators are staying on the right side, but it doesn't matter because the bear pushes so fast you don't even need to commit all 5 heroes. And now they're like, well, they didn't defend. They must be roshing, might as well go for tier 3 because they know what's happening. It's too late to do anything. Might as well get what you can.
And then we have the Aegis picked up by Iceberg. FlyToMoon immediately heading back. Kinguin getting a decent amount of damage done to this tower, and in fact the Ghost is back up. Straight away they go looking for No Fear with a Crit Swarm Burst. Are they going to have it? He's got the Snowball. They'll buy him some time. He's actually going to be able to keep himself alive. His Static Storm dropped down, but it isn't going to be enough to control Nisha. Nisha gets himself out to the side. They've taken the tier 3 tower. Now they're focusing onto the melee racks. They're Kinguin going in. They'll get the 3-man Silence. Katso drops the Doom down onto Silent. Silent falls. It is Iceberg, of course, the one with the Aegis, meaning the Silent, he doesn't have a second chance for this fight. He's dead for 40 seconds. Snowball comes out from No Fear, but they're incredibly low within it again. The Silence from Nisha picks up the triple kill. As Nisha just going absolutely ham this game. Certainly feels like he's fighting back after a struggle in game 1 on his Visage after he did get punished in lane by Iceberg. This time around, he's stepping it up. They're playing perfectly around the Death Prophet Kinguin. And they're taking a lot from FlyToMoon now as they lead 22 minutes in, 6k advantage, and a full set of racks up.
For what should seem like a cooldown-dependent lineup, Kinguin are making this seem very fluid at all times, since Elishas does go down to Iceberg, but that's the last thing you want an Aegis Shadow Fiend to be doing after your Rax gets taken. It's quick movement, and they're moving again onto Iceberg.
They are. He's going to go for the TP out. Oh, he's not making it indeed. Exotic Deer in straight away with the Roar. Iceberg will use up the bear.
He's going to blink.
Ooh. Just in time, Iceberg able
Yeah.
to create the distance. They are still looking to chase.
Maybe should have gone ranged for him to get an attack off, but whatever the case, Iceberg ends up making it out.
But this is sort of the problem. It feels like this is the problem with the Blink Yules
Yeah.
build. It's hard to utilize
It's great
against
to
the
meme on
lineup.
Ancient Apparitions.
Well, this is the thing. You can get sort of these easy pickoffs, but when it comes down to the point where there's a Death Prophet Lone Druid push coming in as a 5-man down the lane, it feels very hard for Iceberg to really offer a lot to sort of slow down these advances.
Yeah, and BKB is now completed for the Death Prophet, so she can go face first even if you're initiating on one of our allies, and they've got a lot of cancels for it. You've got Doom, you've got Burrow Strike, you've got Savage Roar, and you've got the Death Prophet Silence as long as she's not the one being initiated on. And right now, Iceberg, he has his BKB completed.
He really wants to find a combo.
He really does.
He's hunting. He wants to go for that sort of flashy play, and he
There
is
we
going to
go.
be able to find a big target here, and he's got it. Big way for them to start the fight off. Can they clean up more out of the back of this? They look towards Nisha. Nisha with the BKB getting himself out in time, though. Patos comes in with the epicenter, and that's going to mean that there's 2 dead on FlyToMoon.
Nisha's siphoning.
They found 3. They're getting more out of this one, Kinguin. Jumping forward, looking for Iceberg. He's going to get doomed, taken down the once. He's got the Aegis, but it's again a triple kill for Nisha. There'll be a buyback for No Fair. And he's looking for cancel. That's Silence. Find some time for cancel, but still the right click comes through. The mini Dooms are ready for revenge. Coming in, throwing the rocks at Iceberg. The baby Dooms get their revenge for Papa Doom. And Kinguin again taking these team fights, and it really does seem what we're talking about. Sure, you know, this Blink Yules BKB SF, Iceberg gets in.
Yeah.
He gets the one big flashy kill.
Yeah.
But then they can't take the team fight.
It's kind of like a rocket launcher in like first-person shooter games. You shoot it, it's great, you get 1 kill instantly, and then you spend like 10 minutes reloading it again. And after you blow that burst, like a good 3 seconds of your BKB is spent Blink Yules channeling the Requiem. And even then, if he had gotten rooted, it would have all gone to waste.
Oh, again, these silences from Nisha holding them back. Making sure that they can't get a jump forward. The Ice Blast, in fact, is going to be down to No Fair. He'll pop the Snowball. Still, Nisha just jumping into the base here, trying to bring him down underneath the threshold, and he will. Nisha, 11-2 and 11 on this Death Prophet, having a massive impact and proving to be incredibly hard for the side of FlyToMoon to deal with.
Glyph is down, Battle Cry is up, this tower is getting destroyed. They've got an Infest Bomb on Non Grata.
I think it was because Death Prophet, she actually got a nerf in the patch, sorry, a buff in the patch, didn't she as well?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. She lost her magic resistance, but at the same time, she has more mana regen, and so...
But also in the B patch, she got an increase to strength.
Oh,
again.
that's right, so
an extra bit of tank ability. That we saw her
she
get
did.
pretty low up there on the Static Storm.
She was just there by a thread.
That extra 0.3 strength gain may have just saved Nisha's life in
You're
that
not
fight.
wrong.
You never know. It's the little things. But yeah, Nisha certainly making the most of it. It's 26 minutes in, 26 to 17, 8k advantage. Can FlyToMoon turn this one around? They still, I mean, Iceberg, he is top net worth on the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah,
but it just doesn't feel like it in the fights.
I would prefer Silent to be top net worth right now, as he is going to have to rage TP out. A lot of that net worth is committed to killing one hero, whereas a Lifestealer, he can kill multiple heroes. Shadow Fiend's right clicks are not that great right now. He's dealing like 190 damage, which is respectable, but now he's going for a Linken's after this BKB build. So it's a lot of net worth, a lot of utility, but you need someone to just stand and kill off this Death Prophet before she's able to run away and siphon. And she's getting close to 25. If she manages to reach Exorcism Grants Haste, it becomes so difficult for Lifestealer, Tiny, and Shadow Fiend to keep any sort of sustained damage on her. She'll be able to fly out a kinetic field, she'll be able to run around ice shards. Lifestealer will get kited.
Let's see how FlyToMoon can do to hold this push off, as it is going to come out. Nisha popping the go straight in. Silence is there onto the SF. We'll temporarily get glimpse back, but Nisha quick to go back in. And Drew Bear on the front lines.
Man, he's just on a suicide mission.
Grata is going to come in with a burst, but Nisha pops the BKB. He's got the Siphon as well, bringing himself back up to full health. Silence onto the Disruptor. As FlyToMoon, they're trying to stop this. They'll come in with the combo, but Katsuo gets the Doom down onto the SF. They will lose the Doom. But they've lost Non-Grata, they've lost No Fear. Non-Grata buying back. Pados is in with the Burrow Epi. This is going to mean the Disruptor will fall silent, having to run his way back to base. Non-Grata jumps forward with the combo, will burst down the AA, but still, the 3 cores from Kinguin standing strong. The glimpse onto Pados.
Wow.
Oh, he times the Burrow Strike.
Beautiful.
Perfectly timed from Pados, as he'll avoid the glimpse, and they get the 3 cores out of there. So, Silent, I say they get the 3 cores out of there. They won't get Exotic Deer out, so Silent will at least be able to catch out Exotic Deer on the retreat. I mean, they needed that, as they did have to expend 2 buybacks, FlyToMoon. But they do keep the racks alive, and with that kill at the end of it all, they are able to get something big out of that trade.
Yeah, in both games, Kinguin won the laning phase, and after one failed fight, the ever so gentle slip into the late game ended up costing them. Silent isn't as large as he is this game as he was on the Faceless Void in the previous game.
Sure.
But on the flip side, he has better cores around him. Like Iceberg's OD in game 1 is probably comparable to the Shadow Fiend in this game, but the Non-Grata Tiny is way more effective as a damage dealer in this game. So he has more backup, but there's also way more damage done. You're already 1 racks down, tier 3 top is claimed, and Lone Druid, he's working his way to a BKB. He's still a while away from it. He's completing off the Assault Cuirass first, but there's a lot of ways to deal with the Shadow Fiend's net worth right now.
Obviously, Nisha queuing up both the Eon Disc and the Shiva's Guard. So there's Shiva's survived to Iceberg. There we go. Goes for the combo. And I will get the kill again. This is Exotic Deer going down twice in quick succession. Kinguin seeing if they can get the chance to fight back. Pados forcing forward, jumping in. Won't be able to close the gap onto the SF, but he'll look towards No Fear instead. And they'll silence him up, chase him down. Will bring down the Tusk. But at least Iceberg is able to get himself back to safety. But again, these pickoffs onto Exotic Deer, slowly but surely pushing the Lone Druid that little bit further behind Silent's Lifestealer.
Yeah, thankfully he didn't just resummon his bear when he came back, so it will be available when he respawns, otherwise that would have been incredibly painful. But yeah, these things, I see the writing on the wall, but I have faith in Kinguin to remain steadfast. The main thing is the next Roche is going to be critical. It can definitely tip back into FlyToMoon's favor securely if they manage to get the Aegis and the cheese.
I think just as well, it looks very hard for FlyToMoon to kill off this Nisha Death Prophet. With the Eon Disc, it really does feel like he's pretty much invincible at this stage of the game. As we've seen, he has had just the 2 deaths, and they were very much earlier on in this game. These later portions have been a pretty free ride for Nisha.
Yeah. Definitely an exceptional recovery after what was a miserable laning phase against the Shadow Fiend.
Silent Nullifier is nearly there. Just needs about 500 towards that Hammer of Iron Will, and Kinguin with the smoke. They're going into the Roche pit. They've got the Exorcism. And they go straight away onto the Roshan. Are FlyToMoon going to be able to do anything big to stop this?
They see Nisha.
On the high ground, Nisha's actually just going to jump in aggressively, looking to start and kick off the fight. The glimpse will be there onto Nisha, sending him back away from time. But Katsuo gets in, looks for the Doom on Iceberg, won't quite be able to get it. The Static Storm's down. They've caught out Katsuo. They'll take the Doom. They've taken down 3 of them, and now Nisha. He's got the Eon Disc. He's trying to fight back, but it's only him and Exotic Deer against the whole side of FlyToMoon as they'll surround this Death Prophet. They should have a good chance of bringing him down, and they do. FlyToMoon take the team fight.
Uh-oh.
As Kinguin head up into that high ground, FlyToMoon were more than prepared. Always want to fly there with a Static Storm in the midst of it all, making it almost impossible for Kinguin to fight back around that sort of closed area. And now FlyToMoon, they're into the pit and they're taking Roshan for themselves.
Man, that was a super aggressive initiation by Nisha. I guess he was like, oh, they can't see me. I should totally blink up at this high ground and take them all by surprise. But they saw him. They have this ward near the Roche pit on the dire side. They saw the Exorcism Death Prophet walk out and then blink up, and Disruptor was immediately ready on the glimpse.
And that is a very painful play for Kinguin to make, because they lose Roche, they lose the tier 2, and there's still 30 seconds without Nisha. He does not have buyback available, and even if he did, the Ghosts are not back and ready. So FlyToMoon now, they're pressuring the high ground.
I mean, hell, Exotic Deer's not ready. He's in the bot lane. His TP's on cooldown for 20 seconds. He cannot come here.
This is going to be a free rack mid.
Yes, sir.
FlyToMoon striking back hard, taking the net worth advantage for themselves after Kinguin. I believe they were sitting around sort of an 8K lead.
Yeah.
That's all but gone away now. As FlyToMoon back in control off the back of a questionable move there from Kinguin.
The advantage of this build on Shadow Fiend is that you don't really care if your BKB goes down to 5 seconds. All you really need it for is to get that Requiem off. Once you eliminate one target, then now Silent has really re-entered the game. He's got a Nullifier completed on this Lifestealer. He's working his way to a Lincoln Sphere, so they're both the Shadow Fiend, who has completed his Lincoln Sphere, and the Lifestealer are going to be able to not worry about getting doomed.
Yeah, Kinguin have a lot more things to be worried about in these fights now. As in that fight as well, I didn't quite see what Cat saw. It looked like he was about to get the Doom down onto the SF.
I think he got into the Static Storm.
I believe, yeah.
That Static Storm was fantastic.
Because he had the cast animation. I'm sure I'm ready to lay it down.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously questionable really of how much of a difference it would have made, because as we say, I always want to fly. Static Storm was absolutely bang on. Kinguin, they are trying to strike back now as they move on to the top. They have the Exorcism back up, but this fight is going to be, without a doubt, even harder to take than the previous ones, as FlyToMoon with that net worth advantage and with those big items. No fear.
And I am very surprised that they're going for this.
Certainly feels like a risky play.
I mean, Aegis is still on Lifestealer, Cheese is on Iceberg.
I mean, 90 seconds without the Eon Disc as well as it has been popped. So Kinguin, they really want to think twice about this one, and Ellie Sash, he's caught out. They've got the glimpse, they will force him away. BKB comes out from Iceberg. Nisha is trying to commit for this. They do get the Doom down onto Iceberg. Silent trying to chase here. Who's he going to find the lockdown? He's got the Exotic Deer focused here with the Nullifier. Static Storm is down. The Doom still fighting against this SF. They'll trade their lives 1 for 1 there. But Exotic Deer gets chased down. Ellie Sash will fall as well. Only Nisha and Panos left alive. The buyback will be there for No Fear as FlyToMoon really want to make sure they can take this non-crowder, tossing away Nisha, making sure that he himself can walk away from the Ghost Lady. Silent, seeing if he can chase down this Death Prophet. Nisha pretty speedy. He's going to have the heal coming in as well.
Oh,
for
the
these
chase,
ghosts.
it's on.
And the
she
blink,
blinks out.
oh, it is
she
there in
blinks north,
time.
though, but, oh, he could have gotten the Nullifier at the last second. The ghosts were giving away her location, but too fast. Very well done. I thought that, I mean, it's not a great fight. They ended up losing 3, and they only end up getting 2, but they killed the Shadow Fiend in the span of that Doom, so he's not able to get the cheese off, and they don't have to spend enough time worrying about an Aegis Lifestealer. It'll probably time out by the time there's another fight. I don't think that FlyToMoon are interested in starting another fight in the next minute and a half, and so excellent kiting, but it should have happened at the previous fight. This is one fight too late to have this kind of execution.
It just seems they're very, very bloodthirsty, Kinguin. They're constantly wanting to do stuff around Nisha, which I guess the thing is for the early stage of the game, that was absolutely working. They were fighting perfectly around the Death Prophet. But at this stage of the game, now that the cores of FlyToMoon have their items that they need, they just have to be that little bit more careful about how they go about picking the fights, Kinguin.
The cores have what they need, and Exotic Deer does not have what he needs. He's sitting at 4th net worth right now. He's like 3.5k net worth behind the Lifestealer and like 6k net worth behind the Shadow Fiend.
Yeah, it's not where you want a Midas Radiance Lone Druid to be.
Exactly, and he's going for an Aghanim Scepter now, which is not a team fight item. This is like a, I need to distract you guys so I can rat your towers type item.
Silent getting a bit of split push done there with the illusions. We'll see what the plan is next from Iceberg. I believe he's got a Hex queued up at the moment. Is that on the Shadow Fiend?
Yeah, he's working towards that, and he's got 5.5k net worth right now. So claim out the shrines. I think you've already taken the mid racks as mentioned before. So take the bot top shrine and just hunker down until next Rosh, because you've got this as the game goes later. Doom is very, very far behind because he is a 4-position Doom. The Lone Druid is going for an Aghanim Scepter, so even if he completes that, it's really not that big of a concern because you can just send the Tiny to worry about the Bear or something like that. And as great of a game as Patos has been having, the Sand King is losing relevance. He's got the Aghanims completed, he's got Blink, Force, Yule's Aghanims, but it's a lot of net worth against a raged up Lifestealer and a BKB Shadow Fiend who has now completed that Sheepstick.
Yeah, they've got that extra bit of jump and catch that they can use to sort of work around the Eon Disc on Nisha. Make sure they have that control after to bring down the Death Prophet and make sure that Nisha doesn't get sort of these chances as he has been to sort of run rampant through the team fights, keeping himself alive. It's bottom lane, FlyToMoon. Take the tier 2 tower away from Kinguin. Nisha does have the Shiva's Guard complete as well, so adding to his tank ability.
Kinguin getting a whole lot of nothing done right now. They're parked up on this top lane, but the top shrine has already been claimed on the Dire side, so it's not like you can go for some aggressive play if you're FlyToMoon from the shrine, so there's nothing to really bait by sitting up in this top lane. And they see the Radiance burning on the creep, so they know that the Lifestealer is inside this tiny, and really they're just standing around in this top lane as Kinguin.
It may even just be the play to wait for Roshan again.
Yeah, next one will be the shards, so...
Yeah. Yeah, having sort of the double ghost could be what they need to maintain the pressure to take a second set of racks away from FlyToMoon, because as we've seen, even though FlyToMoon did lose their racks about 12 minutes ago, it hasn't really shaken them up at all.
And Kinguin, they're straight shook. They've been up in this top lane for so long. The mid tower went all the way to the tier 4s with just creeps. You had to send the bear over here to Radiance burn it all off.
It's a little awkward as well. Okay, so he's going to bring it over now. Yeah, because he had the point booster on the main lane druid, but the other 3 bits were on the bear. Now he's managed to piece it together. So he has got that.
I mean, if this works, that would be great. But it is so much time right now.
FlyToMoon are out and hunting. Now, looks like Kinguin's position will keep them relatively safe as FlyToMoon.
I don't think they want to be safe, though. I think they want to get into some combat, but they're only willing to do it where they have this top lane ward. They want to see 10 miles in advance. They're not willing to venture into the jungle. And FlyToMoon's like, where the hell are they? They're not defending their mid tower, which is, again, tier 4 towers are getting pushed by creeps. These filler buildings are going down, and Kinguin still aren't defending. Granted, buyback is not available for the Shadow Fiend, so if you're able to kill him, that would be pretty great. But Lifestealer can buy back and Tiny can buy back.
Yeah, they'll send the bear back, at least to start pushing that mid lane back out. The game definitely...
These dudes are cosplaying Iron Branches right now.
I'm still up there, Kinguin.
Yes, yes they are. Believe me, I'm keeping my eye on it. I don't think Pathos has moved more than like 2 units in the past 5 minutes.
They are just entirely sitting behind Nisha. They are not going anywhere else. But FlyToMoon aren't biting. They're not making any sort of crazy movements towards this area.
I mean, for what it's worth, the net worth advantage is basically stagnated. So even though pretty much only the Death Prophet is farming on the side of Kinguin, FlyToMoon are so confused at what's happening, they're not willing to find out what is lurking in this top lane, which now it's nothing. And Kinguin have relinquished that control.
And they've certainly got to watch out for in these fights for the SF, as so with the level 25, with all these actives, cooldown reduction, lots of ways for Iceberg to dance around. Kinguin.
Man, nice shards. This bear can't get to it. Now he does. Oh.
They're looking at it. They've got the Hex. And they've got it. There's the bear gone. Exotic Deer will resummon straight away. FlyToMoon just making these pushes and attempts from Kinguin to get something going very, very hard.
And now Shadow Fiend has buyback, so the only reason I was okay with this strategy is like it's technically a game-winning play if you win a fight, because FlyToMoon are down 1 racks, the top racks is naked. You can basically plow through to tier 4s with an Exorcism and a Lone Druid. You can definitely win that type of race, but if it doesn't pan out, which it didn't, you didn't have that much of a net worth advantage, but experience has gone out of control because all of Kinguin were just sitting up there not getting anything done. It's nearly a 10,000 experience advantage on the side of FlyToMoon. Lifestealer's 24. He's about to get what I imagine is probably going to be the Rage Duration talent, and Shadow Fiend is 25. He took the cooldown reduction,
Yeah, that's
which means that his Sheepstick is on a 13-second cooldown. And his Lincoln's is on an 8-second cooldown.
FlyToMoon, they're on the high ground. Nisha jumps in, immediately gets hexed. Static Storm's going to get dropped down as well. NoFit gets himself into the snowball. Nisha has the undisc, the BKB. Catsor taking a lot of damage here though from Silent and Non-Grata. They've lost the Doom. Nisha getting surrounded. They are going to actually turn Iceberg. He's able to walk this off. He's been doomed for the time being. Non-Grata will still fall though. Nisha, too big and powerful here with the Ghost up. Will find one, take Silent as well. They get the double kill, Kinguin. It's Iceberg and NoFit getting themselves away. He'll shrine up. The buyback's there from Always Wanna Fly. Can they get anything out of this though with this buyback? It doesn't look like it. So Kinguin are able to hit effectively into the lineup.
Can he do it again? He does it again.
Oh, these Burrow Strike glimpse dodges from Pados. He's a professional Sand King player.
Professional Sand
King player there. Very nice little dodges.
At the minimum, the buyback discourages the Exorcism from being spent on Roche. With Roche has respawned, and Exorcism is down for 90 seconds. But no buybacks from cores, and no more racks is taken. But very solid fight. Him blinking up initially, and there was such a small period of time that he was able to get the Exorcism off before the Static Storm came out. Always Wanna Fly was quick, but not quick enough.
NoFit, he really wanted to stop them from getting that Arcane Root. But I don't know if he's getting away with his life, as the Burrow Strike actually from Pados catches out both of them. He closes the gap onto Always Wanna Fly, and they'll get the Disruptor kill. Mass buybacks coming out, in fact, from FlyToMoon. They buy back with 3. You've got Iceberg going in the midst of it all, looking towards Exotic Deer, but he can't quite finish off the kill. Exotic Deer able to get himself out of there. Silent, turning towards Ellie Sash, will find the AA here, trapped amongst the cliffs.
Iceberg's taking them on a trip, and he's blinking and...
He's dancing around them. This is 3 buybacks, though, committed from FlyToMoon. Can they really get into the pit? There isn't an Exorcism up at the moment. Exotic Deer has had to TP back to base to heal up. But they can't really get in the pit here. So those 3 buybacks not really having quite the punch they would have hoped for now, as the network lead now favors Kinguin off the fact that that much money was expended by FlyToMoon there on that play attempt.
Vision is so important for these two teams. You're seeing that whoever gets the initiation first pretty confidently wins the team fight. Either it's Iceberg with his blink sights on core targets, or it's Nisha with these blink activate exorcisms and just hasting around the entire fight, which they're going in again on Roche.
This is going to be pretty quick as well.
Sigil sees it.
FlyToMoon, can they actually stop this? It's going to be a risky play with their buybacks on cooldown. Do they really want to try and risk it around the pit? They may feel that they have to, as they do not want to let these sweets go the way of Kinguin. They can't let them have the shard, the Aegis, the cheese.
Oh, Eondust gets procced.
Can they kill him? They'll jump in with the combo. With the BKBs out for Nisha, they turn. Static Storm is down here. Kinguin, can they keep themselves alive? They've lost the Doom, but there's the epicenter from Pados, bringing FlyToMoon down. They've taken 3. The buyback will come out from Iceberg, but Silent, he's silenced up, surrounded. Kinguin find a 4th. And Always Wanna Fly, he's trying to run, but Pados is there looking to hunt him down. Iceberg gets the Hex off, turns with a quick few raises, but he has to get himself out. As the onslaught continues in favor of Kinguin. Pados with the triple kill. The damage from the epicenter offering huge amounts for Kinguin to take that fight, secure the area around the pit. They'll finish off Roche. They'll take it all. The Aegis, the cheese, and Refresher Shard. 4 heroes down on FlyToMoon. Without buyback, it looks like they should probably be back up in time. I would say it depends how quick this push can come through. They don't have the Exorcism. They do have the Bear.
I'm a little disappointed that everyone on Kinguin went into the Roche pit. Someone should have been pushing out one of the lanes, either bot, top, anything to get creeps in the base, because I don't think you care about the racks. You can just go for tier 4s, but now they're having to deal with backdoor protection right now.
I mean, they're fighting through it. They've got a double damage Bear.
They do. Glyph is available, though.
There we go. In they go, into the high ground. 40 seconds without Silent. Non-Grata's going to be back up in 10. Iceberg, he tries to go in on this, but straight away they'll make the play upon him. He pops the BKB, he's trying to walk himself out. He's going to be caped up as well, but I Always Wanna Fly. They will be able to get Iceberg back and away out of it all. But Nisha with these ghosts, He's taking the tier 4s. They've exposed the Ancient. Can FlyToMoon do anything to stop this non-Grotto? Trying to find Katso, but the Glimmer Cape's there, getting Katso away. Kinguin just focusing the Ancient, looking for the game. Exotic Deer punching it down, and they'll be able to find the victory here in Game 2 as they push the series to a Game 3.
That is strong shot calling coming out from Kinguin, because that is a terrifying situation to be in. You are getting PTSD from Game 1. We were like, oh, we had the lead. We're dropping it again. How do we fix these mistakes? But this time it was a conservative effort. They were sitting around in that top lane. They knew that they just needed one solid fight to put everything in their favor, and they got it. And then they ended up following it up with another solid fight with very, very confident initiation from heroes that shouldn't really be initiating. It was Nisha going in first as opposed to Patos the Sand King, but all he needed to do was just get Exorcism off. Having haste meant that he was able to kite around the rest of the enemy team, and Exotic Deer could just chop wood on the remainder of FlyToMoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Kinguin just able to really close it up this time. And yeah, the Patos Sand King certainly seeming to be something to be quite wary of. And yeah, Nisha's Death Prophet, incredibly strong performance coming out of the laning stage, which we saw was not too great for him against Iceberg's SF. A couple of times his sort of over-aggressive plays on the Death Prophet did sort of cost him the team fights, but definitely you can absolutely argue that overall his aggression was what helped them close the game and sort of get that advantage. These sort of high-risk, high-reward plays that most of the time he did get away with because his team were able to fight around him.
Yeah, solid itemization coming out from him that was able to ultimately be a frontliner for his Lone Druid, which seems backwards, but it ended up working out very well.
Yeah, it did indeed. Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Kinguin bringing this series to a 1-1 now. We'll see who's able to take it very, very shortly as Game 3 will be around the corner. But for now, we'll pass you back to our panel.
Now that is more like it. What a game. 3 distinct turning points in that match, 4 phases of that game as Kinguin are able to stay alive here at Starladder and force Game 3. Bringing it back to our panel, it felt like there were 3 really big fights that were just back and forth swings in that match. The early game, though, belonging solidly to FTM. They controlled the mid lane, they controlled the bottom lane. How were they able to take control of that early game?
A lot of strong laning. We talked about it last game with Iceberg just mechanically outplaying Nisha, and I think we saw a bit of that again. I think he had some help from the Tusk with the Courier Snipe, but they set themselves up for success with the early game in terms of the lanes, and definitely gave themselves openings to win this game, but it was just not quite theirs with some of the decision-making.
Yeah, I mean, Nisha, a skilled mechanical player in his own right, but Iceberg has looked in a class by himself in this series.
No, definitely. And this is what everybody was talking about for a long time. I think that he had that, like, quick rise to fame, right? And then he had a little bit of a tapering off, and people sort of, I don't want to say, like, figured him out, but I think in mid, you sort of get your ego checked a little bit when you run against Sumail a couple times in the mid lane, and then suddenly, you know, he ended up falling behind. But now he's back up there, and that mechanical skill has always remained the same. So very impressive play from him. But at the end of the day, I think that the draft was a little bit sketchy. I really didn't like that lifesteal last pick. It felt like they couldn't keep control of the Death Prophet.
Well, turning point number 1, I felt, was the Dire top lane fight where the SF had already committed to the Blink Yules build, and they gave a triple kill to the Nisha Death Prophet, and that really propelled her to the early 20s BKB, which made the SF feel kind of useless for a lot of the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Blink Yules build was the way to go this game. It turned him into a very spellcaster-heavy SF against a Doom. He was the only Doom target this game. That's all Caster had to do is make sure you get the Doom off in the fights. It's because of the build that Iceberg went. I think going for a right-click build would have been a lot better because you're up against that Doom. He didn't even get a BKB on Doom, which I think was a big mistake, but he didn't get punished for it. There were a few fights, the fights that were being won by FTM where he was not getting his Doom off and SF was able to clean up. But yeah, the Blink Yules is like, you got a kill here or there. It made some nice plays. It looks good. It gets kills, does damage, but it doesn't win you the game.
Yeah, now here is this, again, this is the turning point number 1 that I'm talking about here. FlyToMoon maybe overcommit here to this fight, but the result is going to be the triple kill on the Nisha Death Prophet as she's able to chase down and come back into the fight, re-engaging. This is more the kind of coordination in these fights that we'd been seeing from Kinguin early in the season that maybe had been missing in the last couple of games that we'd seen.
I mean, you lose your Tiny at the start of the fight, and then he buys back and runs back in. Like, I don't know. To me, it feels like you just take that death, right, and then leave it alone. But in that case, it didn't work out for him, and maybe feeling like they were that much stronger that they can just want to like take the fight.
Yeah, and you can see here the Blink Yules combo, SF gets it off, but Nisha able to hide in the trees. It really felt like the last couple of turning points in this game were all about vision, and Kinguin exploiting, either thinking they have the vision advantage incorrectly or thinking they have it and really taking the fights.
Yeah, there were a couple of fights on this cliff here where vision was very important. This was the first one where it went very bad for Kinguin because they blinked in. They thought they had the advantage with the vision. They went in, Doom gets instantly silenced by a Static Storm. If they get that Doom on SF, it's a very different fight. At least an even one, maybe even slightly Kinguin favored, but with Iceberg getting off all his spells, they just get demolished. That
was turning point number 2 that you just saw before this fight, where that was actually a blink in by Nisha, thinking they had the advantage. She blinked in and exorcism, and I mean, FlyToMoon just knew what was going on, but yeah, by this point, Kinguin, I don't know that I've ever seen this in a pro match. I mean, from 35 to 40 minutes, Kinguin just had a yard party in the dire time. I mean, they set up the barbecue pit, cracked open a couple beers out of the cooler, and they were just in that dire top lane.
Grand old time, you know. Don't need to go anywhere. They had one observer in that lane, and El Lesage, very tactically minded captain. I think mechanically as a 5, he's not up there with some of the other 5s, but I think in terms of his understanding of the game and the way he reads the game, it's fantastic. And a key thing when I've talked to this guy, he loves playing around his wards. We saw it there. They have one ward on the map. Let's just stick top. We're not leaving. We're going to play around this ward. They're going to eventually come to us. They did not.
Yeah. But, Tier 4 towers were getting hit by the creeps.
I know. I had 50% health down on one of the Tier 1s.
The great thing is they could afford to do that because they have this bear that can go back and push out the waves. It became very obvious where they were. But later on, the same philosophy works for them. They put a ward on top of their little plateau near the Roche pit, and that ward does win them a fight. So the idea behind it was very, very sound, even if it didn't work that time.
Absolutely. And we questioned the algorithm picking Iceberg as the MVP in the first match, but I don't think there's any question about Nisha. They're in on 30 out of the 34 Kinguin team kills. A very, very impressive performance, but there you have it. Our first best of 3, starting off a long day, and it will go the full 3 games. FlyToMoon and Kinguin tied at 1 game apiece. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be back for the decisive Game 3. Stay tuned.